You felt something was off from the very beginning. Maybe it was the way she hesitated before texting back, or how her smile never quite reached her eyes. You told yourself it was just your imagination, that you were being paranoid, overthinking things like you always do. But deep down your gut whispered something darker. You weren't her first choice. You were her safety net. The one she kept in her back pocket in case the one she truly wanted didn't work out. It didn't hit you all at once. It crept in like fog, slowly covering your vision until the truth stood inches from your face and you couldn't pretend anymore. She'd talk about him like a ghost that still lingered in the room, not quite gone. Her eyes lit up in ways they never did with you, not even during your best days together. When she mentioned how they used to laugh for hours, you nodded along, but your heart sank. It wasn't jealousy, it was recognition. You were standing in a shadow, a role already played and now being rehearsed by someone else. And maybe you gave too much. Maybe you tried too hard to prove you're worth thinking. If you loved harder, waited longer, listened deeper, she'd finally see you. But backup plans don't get seen. They get used. They get picked when all other options fall through. She knew you'd always be there. She didn't have to work for you. You were consistent, reliable, comforting, not exciting, not dangerous, not the one who haunted her dreams. You were the one who answered when she called at 2 a.m. You were the one who forgave her every time she went quiet for a week. You were the one who stayed. She compared you without ever saying a word. The way she reacted when her phone lit up the names that made her pause. You saw the difference in her, the way her voice changed when talking about other people. When she laughed at your jokes, it felt polite, like applause after a school play. But when she spoke about him, even when criticizing, there was passion, intensity, life. You were safe. He was fire. You told yourself you were lucky to have her. But what if she was just settling for you? What if you were a filler chapter between the ones she actually wanted to write, a placeholder until the timing worked out for her and someone else? These aren't questions born from insecurity. They're born from patterns, from a long trail of evidence that you tried to ignore but never truly erased. Remember the way she described her past relationships, not with bitterness but nostalgia, almost admiration, as if every man before you left a mark she was still tracing with her fingertips. And you were soft clay, easy to mold, never pressing back, never making her question anything. That's what she liked. That's what she needed, someone who wouldn't shake the foundation, someone who wouldn't demand to be chosen first. But you're not a backup plan. And the part of you that knows this, the part that's still raw and angry, it's starting to rise, because backup plans don't have hearts. They don't bleed. They don't wait in silence wondering why they're not enough. You were never supposed to be an option. You were supposed to be someone's only. And yet here you are, piecing together all the ways you were made to feel temporary. It's not about revenge. It's not even about her anymore. It's about seeing yourself clearly. About finally admitting that being there for someone isn't the same as being loved by them. That being good, kind, loyal, it doesn't guarantee anything if the person you give those things to is still looking over your shoulder for someone else. You thought love was about showing up, but love is also about being chosen, not out of convenience, not out of loneliness, but because they see you, because they want you, because they wouldn't risk losing you for anyone. You stayed too long, you gave too much, and now it's time to face the part of you that's been buried under her preferences, her memories, her unfinished business. That part of you that wants to scream, I mattered too. I was there. I was real. I wasn't a second choice. I was just never seen. And that's the thing, isn't it? You can give someone everything, but if they're looking for something else, you'll never be enough. Not because you lack anything, but because their vision was always pointed in another direction. That's what hurts the most. Not the rejection, not even the loss, but the realization that you were never the destination, just a stopover, just a familiar place to rest while she waited for the map to lead her somewhere better. But you don't have to keep being that place. You don't have to keep building homes in hearts that are still haunted by someone else. You deserve more than that. You deserve to be the dream, not the default. You deserve a love that looks at you and sees forever, not a fallback plan for when life doesn't go as expected. You know it now. You feel it burning in your chest, that quiet knowing that's been there all along. She didn't choose you because she loved you. She chose you because she needed someone, and you were there. But you're not here to be needed. You're here to be loved, to be celebrated, to be seen, and you won't accept anything less than that anymore. She broke something in you, not just your heart, but your belief in your own worth. And now, piece by piece, you're taking it back. Not to prove anything to her, but to remind yourself you were never just a backup plan. You were a miracle. She just didn't have the vision to see it. That part of you, the one that waited, that forgave, that stayed, it's finally standing up. And it's walking away. There's a kind of silence that isn't peaceful. It's the silence you sat in after she left your message on read. Not for hours, but for days. And yet when she returned, she didn't offer an apology, only a casual, "Hey, sorry things got crazy." As if your time, your concern, your aching thoughts didn't matter. As if you were just available. Like a light switch she could flip on when she needed warmth and shut off when she didn't. You thought this was modern dating. You thought maybe this is just how things are now. Ghosting, breadcrumbing, disappearing and returning like it's nothing. But the truth is, she never had to worry about losing you. You were too afraid to leave. And that fear, that quiet desperation to matter to someone, it made you easy to keep on the shelf, just close enough to reach when convenient. She liked you, but not enough. She cared, but only when it benefited her. You were the comfort between chaos, the one who replied when others didn't, the one who made her laugh when she was spiraling. And because you made her feel safe, she assumed you'd always be there. She never questioned your loyalty because you gave it freely, even when she gave you nothing in return. But deep down you knew this wasn't love. It was dependency. Not hers, yours. You depended on her attention to validate your worth. You waited for her texts, like lifelines, measured your days by her moods, adjusted your self-esteem based on how often she smiled at you. That's not connection. That's captivity. And that's what makes this harder to accept. Not just that she didn't choose you, but that you didn't choose yourself. You saw the signs. You knew when she spoke vaguely about her feelings. You knew when her compliments felt recycled. You knew when her body was present, but her mind was miles away. And still you held on. Because the idea of her, the idea of finally being enough for someone, was too intoxicating to let go. You told yourself she was just guarded. That her past made her afraid to open up. That if you stayed long enough, proved your consistency, she'd soften. She'd heal. She'd love you. But she wasn't healing. She was hiding. She wasn't opening up. She was deflecting. And every time you showed up with more kindness, more patience, more understanding, she took it and gave you less. Not because she's cruel, but because she never truly saw you as someone to keep. Just someone to use until the ache of someone else faded, and you let it happen. That's the part you hate admitting. You let her walk in and out of your life with muddy boots, and you cleaned the floor every time without complaint. You created space for her chaos, made excuses for her distance, and called it love. But it wasn't love. It was self-betrayal dressed in loyalty's clothing. You weren't asking for too much. You were just asking the wrong person. She couldn't give you what you needed, not because you were unworthy, but because she was emotionally unavailable, and you mistook her unavailability as mystery. You thought chasing her meant fighting for love, when really it was just running after someone who never stopped to wait. You remember the moment you realized it. Maybe it was when she canceled plans last minute again. Maybe it was when you saw her laughing in someone else's story, dressed up, vibrant, alive, the same night she told you she wasn't feeling well. Maybe it was the quiet gut punch when she forgot something important about you, something you told her twice, something she'd remember if she truly listened. And still you gave her another chance. That's how backup plans operate. They're forgiving, they're resilient, they stay. Because they believe that if they leave, the other person will finally realize what they lost. But she wouldn't have chased you. She would have replaced you. Because to her, love was transactional. What you offered was always there, and what she wanted was elsewhere. But here's the raw truth: she wasn't evil. She didn't manipulate you with a grand master plan. She simply saw you as convenient. That's even more painful. Because it wasn't about lies. It was about indifference. You weren't her priority. You were her pause button, her emotional support system, without the intimacy, without the commitment, without the risk. And that's why you feel empty. Because you poured so much into someone who only opened her hands enough to catch the parts of you that were easy to consume, not the parts that made you whole. So, now here you are, sitting with the wreckage of what you called love. But it wasn't love, it was survival. It was the story you told yourself so you wouldn't have to face the loneliness, so you wouldn't have to admit that maybe the one who keeps breaking your heart is the one you keep giving it to. But this pain, this hollow place where your trust used to live, it's not just sadness, it's clarity. It's the moment you stop hoping she'll change and start realizing you don't have to. You don't have to compete with her past. You don't have to prove you're better than the ones she still dreams about. You don't have to stay in a story where your role is temporary, replaceable, conditional. You get to rewrite the script. You get to walk away, not because you're weak, but because you're done performing for someone who never gave you a seat at the table. You're not a second choice. You never were. You just forgot your own worth while waiting for someone to validate it. It's time to remember, not who she was, but who you are. There comes a moment when the silence becomes unbearable, not because she's gone, but because you finally realize she was never fully there. That what you called a relationship was in truth a slow starvation. You were feeding her every piece of yourself, while she gave you crumbs, and you told yourself it was a feast because you were afraid to walk away hungry. But now you're sitting in that hunger, and it burns in a different way, not with longing, but with awakening. She made you feel special just enough to keep you close, but never enough to give you peace. Every touch, every kiss, every late-night conversation was carefully calibrated to maintain her control. She wasn't giving herself to you. She was giving you access, limited, selective, conditional. You were always being evaluated, measured against a scale you never saw, weighed against memories you never lived. And the worst part, you normalized it. You made excuses for the way she forgot your birthday but remembered her ex's dog's name. You convinced yourself it was okay that she avoided deep conversations, that she wasn't ready, that timing was bad, that love takes time. You gave her time. You gave her space. You gave her everything. And in return she gave you uncertainty, confusion wrapped in temporary warmth. It felt like affection, but it was maintenance, just enough to keep you from leaving. That's the genius of being someone's backup plan. You're never dismissed. You're preserved. She knew you had a heart too soft to demand more. She knew you'd stay as long as she sprinkled just enough hope. And so you became a prisoner of potential, of someday, of maybe, of not now but soon. But real love doesn't make you wait in line. It doesn't keep you in holding patterns while it flirts with possibilities elsewhere. Love chooses you, clearly, without games, without hesitation, without having to compete with ghosts and fantasies. The signs were always there, weren't they? The way she spoke about the future, vague, open-ended, like a story without a main character. The way she dodged labels, avoided commitment, joked about just seeing where it goes while you were building castles in your mind. You thought that being patient was noble, that giving her space would earn her trust. But she wasn't unsure. She was uninterested in giving you what you deserved. She just didn't want to be alone while she searched for something better. And you accepted that. Because something inside you believed that being halfway loved was better than being alone. That being someone's emotional placeholder was at least something. But now you know it's not. It's slow death. It's giving yourself to someone who sees you as a utility, not a soulmate. It's fighting to be seen by someone who refuses to look. You weren't her priority. You were her peacekeeper, her emotional valet, the one she vented to when others hurt her, the one who comforted her when her real options let her down. You became her therapist, her cheerleader, her emotional cushion, everything but her partner. And when she needed you, you came running. Not because she asked, but because she didn't have to. You trained yourself to respond to her silence like a call for help. And when she reappeared with vague explanations and tired apologies, you accepted them like gospel. Because in your heart, you were starving for any sign that you mattered. But love doesn't live in cycles of absence and return. It doesn't leave you questioning your place. It doesn't ask you to shrink, to wait, to bleed for someone who won't even name you out loud. Now finally you're starting to feel the shift. That flicker of anger that once scared you now feels sacred. It's not resentment, it's recognition. Of every moment you ignored your intuition. Of every boundary you softened to make her comfortable. Of every time you held your breath, hoping she'd exhale your name with certainty. But she never did. You were never her priority because she never saw you as one. And the proof was in the patterns, in the canceled plans, in the recycled excuses, in the way she spoke about other people with more excitement than she ever gave you. You were there, yes, but you were background noise, a warm presence when the world felt cold, not the fire that lit up her soul. So what now? Now you stop performing. You stop over-explaining. You stop waiting. You stop wondering if she'll ever see your value and start seeing it yourself. You stop being someone's, maybe someone's if not him, then you someone's dependable backup when the thrill wears off with someone else. You were not built to be Plan B. You were not made to live in someone's emotional storage closet. You were not designed to sit quietly while your heart is rationed like a luxury item. You are not a placeholder. You are a force. You are a whole story, not just a chapter break between someone else's love affairs. And the woman who couldn't see that she wasn't ready for you. She didn't deserve the man you were becoming. Because what she needed wasn't love. It was comfort. It was reassurance. It was someone who wouldn't abandon her while she chased the chaos she still romanticized. But you were never chaos. You were clarity. And that scared her more than losing you ever did. So let her go. Let go of the memories that only replay because they were unfinished. Let go of the text threads you reread looking for signs. Let go of the imagined future that only you were trying to build. Let go of the hope that one day she'll come back with open arms and a changed heart. Because if she couldn't see your worth when you were giving her everything she doesn't deserve to witness the man you become when you finally give everything to yourself. The truth is, being someone's backup plan doesn't mean you were weak. It means you were strong enough to love through doubt, loyal through silence, kind through neglect. But that version of you, he's tired, and he deserves rest, he deserves healing, he deserves to rise, and now he will. It's quiet now, but it's a different kind of quiet. Not the aching stillness of waiting for her reply, not the tension of wondering where you stand. This is the silence of release, the silence that comes after you finally let go, not because you stopped caring, but because you finally started caring about yourself more. The man you were the one who begged silently to be chosen, he's gone, and in his place is someone who sees the proof now, clearly and painfully. You were just a backup plan, and she never planned to love you first. You replay the moments with sharper eyes, not with bitterness but with clarity. The nights she only called after her plans fell through, the affection that showed up just as you began to pull away. The way she spoke about not being ready for something serious until someone else came along and suddenly she was. It wasn't that she couldn't love. It was that she wouldn't love you. Not in the way you needed. Not in the way you deserved. And that's the truth you have to swallow, no matter how bitter. Some people won't choose you not because you're lacking, but because they're still chasing a version of love that looks nothing like you. They want the drama, the unpredictability, the thrill. And you were consistent, stable, present, the kind of man who shows up on time and stays until the storm passes. But she didn't want shelter. She wanted the storm. She wanted to feel something chaotic, even if it hurt her. And so she used you as her calm in between tempests, never realizing the value of a man who would never leave. But you're not angry anymore. Because anger was just the first step, the spark that lit the fire of awakening. Now you're rebuilding, not from ashes, but from truth. And truth is a powerful foundation. You're no longer looking for validation in the places that broke you. You're no longer begging to be seen by someone who wore blinders by choice. You're no longer staying silent just to keep the peace. You've made peace with the fact that you were always enough, she just didn't have the eyes to see it. You've learned now. You've learned that love isn't about proving yourself. It's not about waiting in the wings until someone is done chasing ghosts. Real love doesn't hesitate. It doesn't ration its affection. It doesn't leave you wondering. It doesn't treat you like a backup battery only to be plugged in when the other options fail. Real love shows up and stays. It chooses you, loudly, consistently, freely. And so you're done chasing people who don't run toward you with the same fire. You're done trying to earn a place in someone's heart, when you should be resting in someone's certainty. You're done confusing emotional scraps for meals and calling it love when it was just convenience. You've walked through the fire of rejection and you're still here, more aware, more grounded. You no longer fear loneliness because you've met yourself in the most honest way. You've seen your own strength in the mirror, not the polished version you presented to her, but the real you. The one who stayed up hurting. The one who kept believing in love even when it hurt. The one who cried in silence and still woke up the next day with hope in his chest. That man, he's worth more than a supporting role in someone else's fantasy, and now he's writing his own. You've stopped trying to win people over. You've stopped waiting for someone to suddenly wake up and realize how amazing you are. You know it already. You don't need their permission to feel worthy. You don't need their presence to feel loved. You've become your own witness, your own sanctuary, your own flame. There will be moments when doubt creeps in again, when you'll hear a song or pass by a place that brings her back like a whisper. And for a second you'll wonder if she ever really cared. But then you'll remember caring isn't the same as choosing. And she didn't choose you. Not fully. Not when it counted. And that's all the answer you'll ever need. One day she might look back. She might scroll through old photos or see your name pop up on a mutual friend's feed. And maybe, just maybe, she'll realize what she lost. Not because she misses you, but because she finally sees you for the man you've become. The man she never made space for. The man who outgrew the waiting room she left him in. But that moment isn't for you. It's not a victory. It's not justice. It's just a shadow of what could have been. And you won't be there to witness it. Because by then, you'll be too far ahead. Living a life where you're not the backup plan, but the only plan. A life where love flows freely, where you're chosen not despite who you are, but because of it. You're not a stopgap. You're not a rebound. You're not someone to kill time with while they decide. You are a final decision, a once-in-a-lifetime kind of presence. And when someone truly sees you, they won't hesitate. They won't compare. They won't flinch at your depth. They'll dive in, because they'll know what you've known all along: you were never hard to love. You were just loving the wrong one. So here's the proof: not in her texts, not in her absence, not in the way she kept you around. The proof is in your healing, in your boundaries, in your voice rising after being quiet for too long. The proof is that you're not waiting anymore. You're walking forward, alone maybe, but never lonely, because you've reclaimed your worth. And that's the kind of power no one can ever take from you again. This is the part they don't tell you about heartbreak: the way it refines you. The way it strips you down, breaks your illusions, and carves out space for something real, something true, something worthy of the man you are becoming. You were just a backup plan. That was the story she wrote. But this is your chapter now. And it begins with you saying no to anything that makes you feel less than chosen. You are not a backup plan. You are the proof.